Hey, it's your book hound here coming at you with another review of a book we like to howl about. As we say, if you like what you see here, I hope you'll hit subscribe. We got good reviews, special offers, all kinds of fun stuff coming at you all the time. Today we're going to talk about Malibu Burning by Lee Goldberg. And if you don't know Lee Goldberg, he's a very popular and prolific author. He's a former television writer, or he may still be a television writer and producer. He's written a lot of books, and most of his books are really a lot of fun. This one is it's introducing a new set of characters. This is kind of the launch. I would imagine the launch of a new series of you know legal cop thriller kind of books. And in this case, it's a pair of arson investigators, Walter Sharpe and Andrew Walker, who we are introduced to in this book. And so Sharpe, with an E at the end, is a kind of an old, crusty curmudgeon, very experienced, very capable arson investigator with the LA County Sheriff's Department. He's kind of an old Wilford Brimley type, you know. His nickname behind his back is Sharpei because he's got jowls and, you know, he's fat and miserable. And he's kind of got no use for anybody. He's kind of irritable. And he does not like Andrew Walker, who is a former U.S. Marshal. So he isn't also, Walker is not a kid. He's an experienced law enforcement person, just from a completely different part of law enforcement. U.S. Marshal. He has decided to become an arson investigator because his wife is pregnant and she doesn't want him in dangerous situations anymore. She wants him kind of behind a desk. And he's not super happy about that, but, love is love. And when your wife is pregnant and she wants you to take a safe job, you do it. But he won't take off his cowboy hat, which is kind of like, I don't know, it's a little bit like, okay, he's the hero in a cowboy hat. He wants to learn how to be an arson investigator, and of course Sharpe doesn't like him and doesn't have much use for him, and has this whole, like, stay out of my way, you amateur kind of attitude. And if that sounds a little bit annoying, it is. It's setting up a tension that personally I find it kind of irritating. Anyway, that's the investigator side of the story. The investigatee is a con man named Danny Cole, and the book has an odd structure. It keeps going back and forth from the present to the past. Like, you keep jumping back to, 8 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and then to the present. So it's a slightly odd structure, but it's a way to reveal the backstory without spilling the beans. So Danny Cole is a talented con man. And when we first meet him, he's set up literally a completely fake bank to rip off a Mexican drug cartel that's trying to launder money. And he and his team make off with $1 million in cash. But unfortunately, Cole gets caught because he was trying to save the life of a man who had become unconscious. So he's running away from the cops, but he stops to give CPR to somebody and he gets arrested. So he's kind of what you might call a complicated character. And he's the anti-hero that you love. He's kind of good-natured. He's a sense of justice. In fact, his lawyer makes this case at his trial, like, this is a good man who did something bad, so forgive him. And honestly, that's kind of where this book has a problem. If you believe in that, then the book makes sense. Like, okay, he's a good man, and he only steals from bad people, so therefore he's good. But if you don't buy into that, if you're like, crime is crime, I'm such a square, right? But like, it's a little hard to get behind a con man. But that's what the book is asking you to do. And basically what happens is that in order to avoid being in prison, where he would be murdered by these Mexican drug lords he stole from, Cole asked to be assigned to convict firefighting team, which is a thing in California. They have prisoners fight forest fires. California, there's terrible fires every year. Thousands and thousands of acres of land burn. So they bring in convicts and they train them to be firefighters. And it's basically, it gets the people out of prison. They get out of whatever. It's a thing they can do. They don't have to be in jail. It's a different kind of jail, I guess, but it's maybe better for some people. So he spends several years learning how to fight fires and how to start fires. And he also, in the process, watches several of his friends and other people in the firefighting world get injured and killed fighting fires partly at being when they're manipulated by rich people who don't want their houses burned down, and it's an indictment of what Goldberg is saying is a very corrupt and cruel a bureaucracy running the California firefighting efforts, and that people are injured because some rich guy who's friends with the governor, wants a firefighting team to go to a certain place where they get hurt, and then following up, they stiff the victim of any medical treatment, so he becomes homeless. Like if this is true, it's really terrible. And I don't know if it's true, but Goldberg has done a lot of research here, so maybe there's some truth to it. So what unfolds is this parallel story where Cole is out of prison and he has hatched this plot to get back at this rich guy who enabled his friend to get injured and screwed over by the firefighting bureaucracy. And it's an elaborate plot that involves starting a forest fire, basically, where that they're going to use as a pretext to break into this guy's house and steal all kinds of things. And you know, Sharpe and Walker get wind of it, literally get wind of it, like they're, do you smell smoke? Yeah. And they're trying to figure out what's going on. And so you see Walker as the former marshal. He's going to get his man, and Sharpe, the arson investigator, they're trying to figure out what's going on. And I don't want to spoil the ending. So if you're a fan of Lee Goldberg, I think you might find that this is not his best work. And this is a problem. I mean, when you're a talented writer, people are always going to be comparing you to your other work. It's maybe, I don't know, maybe I just don't like the Sharpe and Walker characters, or I don't buy into Cole's, morality, his view of ethics or whatever. So it's a little tough going. And so, but otherwise, I mean, it does work as a mystery. And Goldberg has some wonderful, I mean, he's got a great sense of Southern California. And there's some very funny stuff about how the whole culture of Southern California is just completely pickled in television, and there's like a character, this manager of a store who's a Star Trek fan, and she calls the store the Enterprise, and she treats all of her employees like, Star Trek characters. And it just shows how kind of people in LA are just kind of out of their minds with TV, which I found funny also because I used to work in TV and live in LA. Anyway, that's Malibu Burning by Lee Goldberg, the kickoff of the Sharpe and Walker series of arson investigation mysteries. If you like what you heard, maybe check it out. I don't know if it's Lee Goldberg's best work, but like with some writers I've seen, even when he's not at his best, he's still pretty good. So maybe check it out.